Dr. Maya Chen wiped the sweat from her forehead as she stared at the data on her computer screen. The numbers made no sense. She had been working in the xenobiology lab for 12 hours straight, trying to understand the basic biology of Earth's newest visitors. The Zephyrians had arrived 3 weeks ago in ships that looked like silver teardrops falling from the sky. They came in peace, they said, offering to share medical knowledge with humanity. In return, they wanted to study human biology and learn about Earth's diverse life forms. Maya was one of only 6 scientists chosen for the exchange program. At 28, she was the youngest researcher on the team, but her work on interspecies compatibility had earned her a place at the table. Now she wondered if she was smart enough for the job. The lab door opened with a soft hiss. Maya looked up to see Director Williams walking in with 2 tall figures behind him. She knew immediately they were Zephyrians. "Dr. Chen, I'd like you to meet our guests," Director Williams said. His voice carried the tired tone of someone who had been dealing with politics all day. "This is Vel Taran, the head of their medical team, and this is Cale Moore, their lead research scientist." Maya stood up and smoothed down her lab coat. The Zephyrians were even more striking up close than they appeared on the news broadcasts. They stood nearly 7 feet tall with skin that seemed to shimmer like liquid silver. Their faces were angular and sharp, with large eyes that held no visible emotion. They moved with perfect grace as if every step was calculated. "It is an honor to meet you, Dr. Chen," Veltaran said. His voice was smooth and musical but completely flat. No warmth, no personality, just words. "We have reviewed your research. Your methods are primitive but show potential." Maya felt her cheeks burn. "Thank you," she managed to say. The second Zephyrian, Cale Moore, stepped forward. "You study the connections between different species," he said. Unlike Veltaran, there was something different in his voice, a hint of curiosity that seemed almost human. "Yes," Maya replied. "I research how different biological systems can work together, how they adapt to each other." Cale Moore tilted his head slightly. "Adaptation implies change. Change implies emotion. My people do not understand this concept as humans do." Director Williams cleared his throat. "Dr. Chen will be working directly with your team, Cale Moore. She'll help bridge any gaps in understanding between our species." After the formal introductions, Director Williams left. Veltaran excused himself to review other research areas. Maya found herself alone with Cale Moore. "You may call me Cale," he said, surprising her. "Formality is not necessary for scientific work." Maya smiled. "Then call me Maya." Over the following days, Maya and Cale worked together in the lab. She learned that Zephyrians were logical to an extreme degree. They had evolved beyond emotion thousands of years ago, viewing feelings as inefficient distractions. Their society ran on pure reason and mathematical precision. But Cale was different from the other Zephyrians. He asked questions that went beyond simple scientific curiosity. "Why do humans cry when they are sad?" he asked one afternoon while they reviewed tissue samples. Maya looked up from her microscope. "It's a physical response to emotional pain. The tears help release stress hormones. But why do you also cry when you are happy? Because joy can be overwhelming too. Sometimes emotions are so strong they need a physical outlet." Kyle stared at her for a long moment. "Overwhelming," he repeated slowly. "This is not a word we use in our language." As the weeks passed, Maya noticed small changes in Kyle. He began to stand closer when they worked together. He asked more personal questions about human behavior. Sometimes she caught him watching her with an expression that seemed almost like wonder. "Do all humans form these emotional connections you speak of?" he asked one evening as they cleaned up the lab. "Most of us do," Maya replied. "We call it love, friendship, family bonds. It's what makes us human." "And these connections," Kyle said carefully, "they cause you to make decisions that are not logical?" Maya laughed. "All the time. Love makes people do crazy things." "Crazy," Kale repeated. "Another word we do not have." That night, Maya stayed late to finish analyzing a new batch of data. She was alone in the lab when she made a discovery that changed everything. The blood samples she had been studying showed something incredible. When human pheromones were introduced to Zephyrian neural tissue, dormant pathways activated. Pathways that had been silent for millennia. It was as if human emotions could literally wake up parts of the Zephyrian brain that had been sleeping. Maya ran the test 3 times to be sure. Each result was the same. Human emotional chemistry could trigger ancient neural responses in Zephyrian biology. She was so excited she could barely sit still. This discovery could revolutionize how the two species understood each other. She had to tell someone. Kale arrived at the lab 20 minutes after her message. He moved quickly, almost urgently, which was unusual for a Zephyrian. "You said it was important," he said as he entered. "Look at this," Maya said, pulling up the data on her screen. "Human emotional chemistry activates dormant neural pathways in Zephyrian brain tissue. It's like your people didn't lose the ability to feel emotions. You just stopped using those parts of your brain." Kyle studied the data with intense focus. "This is not possible," he said, but his voice lacked conviction. "The evidence is right here," Maya said. "Your species could feel emotions again. You could experience what it means to love, to laugh, to cry. But why would we want such inefficiency?" Kale asked. Maya turned to face him. "Because emotions aren't inefficient. They're what make life worth living. They drive creativity, compassion, sacrifice. They make us human." Kyle was standing very close now. Maya could see her reflection in his large silver eyes. "Show me," he said quietly. "Show you what?" "What it means to feel," he whispered. "If this research is accurate, if human emotional chemistry can activate these pathways, then show me." Maya's heart began to race. "Kyle, I don't know if that's safe. We don't know what could happen. I have spent 200 years in logical perfection," Kale said. "I have never experienced a single moment of what you call joy or wonder or love. If there is a chance to understand, I must take it." Maya looked into his alien eyes and saw something she had never seen in a Zephyrian before. Longing. Deep, desperate longing. "Just once," Kyle said. "Let me feel what it means to be alive the way humans are alive." Before Maya could think about the consequences, before she could consider the risks, she reached up and touched his face. His skin was warm, softer than she had expected. "Just one kiss," Kyle whispered. "Show me what connection means." Maya knew it was dangerous. She knew it could change everything. But looking into Kale's eyes, seeing that spark of hope and curiosity, she could not refuse. She stood on her toes and pressed her lips to his. The effect was immediate and shocking. The moment their lips touched, Kyle's entire body went rigid. His eyes widened as if he had been struck by lightning. Maya felt a strange tingling sensation, as if energy was flowing between them. Then Kale gasped and stumbled backward. "What?" he said, his voice shaking. "What is happening to me?" Maya watched in amazement and horror as Kale's silver skin began to flush with color. His perfectly controlled posture crumbled as he gripped the lab table for support. "I can feel," he whispered, wonder and terror mixing in his voice. "I can feel everything." Kale's breathing became rapid and uneven. His hands were shaking as he touched his face, his chest, as if discovering his own body for the first time. "This is," he paused, searching for words. "This is incredible. This is terrifying. This is overwhelming," Maya suggested softly. "Yes," Kyle said, looking at her with new eyes that now held warmth and emotion and something that looked very much like wonder. "Overwhelming, but then something went wrong." Kale's new emotions hit him like a flood. 200 years of suppressed feelings crashed through his unprepared mind all at once. Joy, fear, curiosity, longing, confusion, and something deeper and more powerful than anything else. "Maya," he said, reaching for her. "I need." He could not finish the sentence. His legs gave out and he collapsed to the floor, his body convulsing as his brain tried to process sensations it had never been designed to handle. "Kyle." Maya dropped to her knees beside him. His silver skin was now flushed pink and his breathing was erratic. She grabbed her communication device and called for medical help, but she knew the human doctors would not understand what was happening. This was beyond anything they had ever seen. As the medical team arrived, Maya held Kale's hand and watched him struggle with his newfound emotions. His grip on her hand was desperate, as if she was the only anchor in a storm of feelings he could not understand. "Do not leave me," he whispered, as the doctors worked around them. "I cannot go back to the emptiness. Please do not leave me." Maya squeezed his hand tighter. "I won't leave you," she promised. But as she watched the medical team struggle to stabilize Kyle's vital signs, Maya realized what she had done. She had awakened something in him that his species had buried for good reason. She had changed him at the most fundamental level, and now she might be the only thing keeping him alive. The other Zephyrians arrived within hours. Velteron and 3 others Maya had never seen before. They examined Kale with cold efficiency while he lay unconscious on the medical bed. "This is a contamination," Velteran announced. "The human has infected our colleague with emotional dysfunction. He must be returned to our ship immediately for correction." "Correction?" Maya asked. "The emotional pathways will be permanently severed," one of the other Zephyrians explained. "He will return to proper logical function." "That could kill him," Maya protested. "His brain has been rewired. If you cut those pathways now, you might destroy his entire neural network. Better destruction than contamination," Velteran said coldly. As they prepared to move Kyle to their ship, he regained consciousness. His eyes immediately searched for Maya. "Maya," he said weakly, "I can feel you. Even when I am not looking at you, I can feel that you are near. Is this what humans call love?" Maya felt tears spring to her eyes. "I think it might be." Velteran made a sound of disgust. "You see the extent of the contamination. He is no longer Zephyrian. He is no longer logical. He is broken." But as they lifted Kale onto a transport gurney, something unexpected happened. When they moved him more than a few feet from Maya, his vital signs immediately became unstable. His heart rate spiked and his breathing became labored. "Stop," the human doctor called out. "He's going into cardiac arrest." They moved him back closer to Maya and his condition stabilized. "Fascinating," Velteran said, though his tone suggested he found it anything but pleasant. "The contamination has created a biological dependency. He requires the human's presence for survival." Maya looked down at Kale, who was conscious but weak. His silver eyes met hers, and she saw something that made her heart break and soar at the same time. Love. She saw love in his alien eyes. "What happens now?" she asked. Velteran's expression was unreadable. "Now we discover if this contamination can be cured, or if our colleague is lost forever." As the medical teams worked around them, Maya held Kale's hand and realized that everything had changed. With one kiss, she had awakened something that had slept for thousands of years. She had given an alien the ability to love. Now, she had to figure out how to save him. The next 48 hours became a battle between two different ways of understanding life itself. Maya refused to leave Kyle's side. Every time she moved more than 10 feet away from him, the monitors attached to his body began screaming warnings. His heart would race, his breathing would become shallow, and his newly awakened brain would flood with panic chemicals that his Zephyrian physiology could not process. Dr. Rodriguez, the lead human physician, studied the medical readings with growing amazement. "It's like his entire nervous system has been rewired," she told Maya during one of their brief breaks. "The emotional centers in his brain are now connected to basic survival functions. Without the chemical signals he receives from your presence, his body literally thinks it's dying." Maya watched Kale through the observation window. He was awake but weak, his silver skin still flushed with the pink tones that marked his emotional awakening. When he saw her, his expression brightened in a way that no Zephyrian face had ever shown before. "Is there any way to stabilize him without me?" Maya asked. Dr. Rodriguez shook her head. "We've tried every medication we have. His brain chemistry is unlike anything we've seen. It's as if he's become dependent on human emotional pheromones the way others might depend on oxygen." Through the communication system, they could hear the Zephyrian delegation arguing in their musical but cold language. Velteran had been joined by 5 more of his people, including someone who appeared to be a high-ranking official based on the deference the others showed. "They're planning something," Dr. Rodriguez said quietly. "They've been in constant communication with their homeworld." Maya felt a chill run down her spine. "What kind of something?" "I don't know, but they keep using a word that our translators can't interpret. Something that sounds like Kethvel Miran." When Maya entered Kale's room, he immediately reached for her hand. The moment their skin touched, his vital signs stabilized and the tension left his face. "How do you feel?" she asked, sitting beside his bed. Kale was quiet for a long moment, as if searching for words to describe experiences he had never been designed to have. "Empty when you are not here," he said finally. "Complete when you return. Is this what humans call missing someone?" Maya nodded, fighting back tears. "Among other things. The others of my kind," Kale said carefully. "They believe I am broken. They say what has happened to me is a disease that could spread to our entire species." "What do you think?" Kale's grip on her hand tightened. "I think I was broken before. I think I lived for 200 years without truly being alive. Now I understand what you meant when you said emotions make life worth living. Before Maya could respond, the door opened, and Veltarin entered with two other Zephyrians. Their faces showed no emotion, but Maya could sense tension in their perfectly controlled movements. Dr. Chen, Veltarin said formally, we require your cooperation in a matter of galactic importance. What kind of cooperation? Maya asked, not liking his tone. Kylemore's condition represents a threat to Zephyrian civilization. If other members of our species were to experience similar emotional contamination, it could destroy the logical foundation of our society. We must understand how to prevent this from occurring. Kyle struggled to sit up. I am not contaminated, he said, his voice stronger than it had been since the incident. I am awakened. Veltarin ignored him. Dr. Chen, you will accompany us to our homeworld. Our scientists require detailed study of your unique brain chemistry. With this knowledge, we can develop treatments to prevent future contamination incidents. Maya felt her heart sink. And what happens to Kale? Once we understand the mechanism of contamination, Kylemore will undergo corrective surgery. The emotional pathways will be severed and he will return to proper Zephyrian function. That will kill him, Maya said firmly. His entire nervous system has adapted. You can't just cut out half his brain and expect him to survive. Death is preferable to contamination, the third Zephyrian said coldly. Kale's grip on Maya's hand became desperate. Maya, he whispered, I do not want to go back to the emptiness. I do not want to forget what it feels like to care about someone. That night, while the Zephyrians made preparations for departure, Maya worked frantically in her lab. She had an idea, but she needed proof before she could act on it. She ran test after test, analyzing the changes in Kale's brain chemistry and comparing them to baseline human emotional responses. What she discovered made her hands shake with excitement. The emotional pathways that had awakened in Kale were not just random neural firing. They were organized, purposeful, and incredibly sophisticated, more sophisticated than even human emotional networks. It was as if the Zephyrian brain had been designed for emotions far more complex and powerful than anything humans experienced. Maya realized that the Zephyrians had not evolved beyond emotion. They had evolved beyond simple emotion into something far more advanced, then deliberately suppressed it. The pathways Kale was using were not primitive throwbacks. They were the evolutionary future of emotional intelligence. She was still working when Director Williams found her at 3 a.m. Maya, you need to get some sleep, he said. The Zephyrians want to depart in 12 hours. I'm not going, Maya said without looking up from her computer. What? Maya turned to face him, her eyes bright with discovery and determination. I'm not going with them. And neither is Kale. Maya, we can't start an interstellar incident. The Zephyrians have technology we need. This exchange program is too important. Director, Maya said firmly, look at this data. She showed him the brain scans, the neurological analysis, the comparison charts she had been working on all night. The Zephyrians didn't evolve beyond emotion, she explained. They evolved into something incredible and then shut it down. Kale's brain is showing emotional complexity that surpasses human capability by orders of magnitude. He's not broken. He's become what his species was meant to be. Director Williams studied the data with growing amazement. This is incredible work, Maya, but it doesn't change the political reality. We can't force them to leave Kyle here. Then I'll go with him, Maya said quietly, but not to be studied, to prove that what happened to Kale isn't contamination. It's evolution. The departure was scheduled for noon. Maya spent the morning with Kale explaining her plan. You want to come to my homeworld? He asked, wonder in his voice. I want to show your people what they've been missing, Maya said. I want to prove that emotions don't make you weak. They make you stronger. Kale was quiet for a long time. My people will not listen, he said finally. They have believed in logical perfection for thousands of years. Then we'll show them instead of telling them, Maya replied. At exactly noon, the Zephyrian transport arrived. It was a beautiful ship, all smooth curves and gleaming metal. But Maya thought it looked cold and sterile. Veltarin and his team escorted Maya and Kale aboard. Kale had to be supported as they walked, his newfound emotions making simple movement difficult. But every time Maya touched his hand or spoke to him, his strength returned. The ship's interior was as coldly beautiful as its exterior. Everything was precise, mathematical, perfect, and completely without warmth or personality. You will be housed in separate quarters, Veltaren informed them as they boarded. That's not possible, Maya said. Kale's condition requires my proximity for stability. We will provide medical intervention to maintain his survival functions. No, Kale said, speaking up for the first time since boarding. I will not be separated from Maya. Veltaren's expression remained neutral, but Maya caught something that might have been surprise in his eyes. Zephyrians did not refuse direct orders. You are not in a position to make demands, Kalemore, Veltaren said. I am in a position to choose, Kale replied, and I choose Maya. The journey to the Zephyrian homeworld took 6 days. Maya was given a small but comfortable cabin adjacent to Kale's quarters. The Zephyrians had reluctantly agreed to keep them close together after Kale's vital signs crashed during their first attempt at separation. During the voyage, Maya learned more about Zephyrian society. They lived in perfect logical harmony on a world of crystal cities and mathematical gardens. Every citizen had a predetermined role based on their cognitive abilities. Crime, war, and suffering had been eliminated along with emotion. It sounded like paradise, but Maya found it terrifying. On the 4th day, something unexpected happened. One of the younger Zephyrians, a scientist named Niratel, approached Maya with questions. The emotional responses you trigger in Kalemore, she said hesitantly. They appear to enhance his cognitive abilities rather than diminish them. Maya nodded. Emotions and intelligence aren't opposites. They work together. But our scientists proved that emotions create inefficiency and error. Your scientists proved that uncontrolled emotions can be disruptive, Maya corrected. But controlled, mature emotions enhance every aspect of thinking. They provide motivation, creativity, and the ability to make intuitive leaps that pure logic cannot achieve. Niratel was quiet for a moment. I have observed Kalemore solving complex problems with methods our computers cannot replicate. His solutions are not only correct but elegantly innovative, Maya smiled. That's what emotions can do when they're working with intelligence instead of against it. Over the next 2 days, Niratel spent more time near Maya and Kale. Maya noticed that the young Zephyrian's perfectly controlled demeanor began to show tiny cracks. A slight smile when Kale made a joke. A moment of what looked like curiosity when Maya explained human music. When they arrived at the Zephyrian homeworld, Maya was amazed by its beauty. Crystal spires rose from silver ground. Geometric gardens spread in perfect patterns, and the entire planet seemed to gleam with mathematical precision. It was gorgeous and utterly lifeless. They were taken directly to the central research facility, a massive complex of laboratories and analysis chambers. Maya was immediately separated from Kale despite his protests. The examination will proceed according to protocol, the facility director informed them. Dr. Chen will be studied to understand the contamination mechanism. Kalemore will be prepared for corrective surgery. You can't do this, Maya said, struggling against the Zephyrians who held her arms. The surgery will kill him. That is acceptable if it prevents species-wide contamination, the director replied coldly. As they dragged Maya away, she heard Kyle calling her name. The sound was filled with desperation and fear, emotions no Zephyrian should have been able to feel. Maya was placed in a sterile examination room where teams of Zephyrian scientists ran test after test. They analyzed her blood, her brain activity, her genetic structure. They were fascinated by her emotional responses but approached them like a disease to be cured rather than a gift to be understood. Hours passed. Maya could feel Kale's distress through some connection she did not fully understand. Her own emotional state was affecting his survival, and his crisis was feeding back to her. Then, late in the examination cycle, something remarkable happened. Niratel entered the room and quietly dismissed the other scientists. When they were alone, she approached Maya with an expression that was no longer perfectly controlled. I have been studying the data from your examinations, she said quietly, and I have been observing my own responses to extended exposure to human emotional patterns. What have you discovered? Maya asked. Niratel's silver skin showed the faintest hint of pink flush. I have discovered that I am beginning to feel, she whispered. And it is not contamination. It is awakening. Maya felt hope surge through her chest. Then you understand what's really happening here. I understand that my people have been living as shadows of what we could be, Niratel said. I understand that emotions do not make us weak. They make us complete. Niratel moved closer to the examination table where Maya was restrained. Kael'more's surgery is scheduled to begin in 1 hour. If we are going to save him, we must act now. What do you propose? I propose we show my people what they have been missing, Niratel said. And for the first time, Maya saw a Zephyrian smile. The escape from the examination room was easier than Maya had expected. Niratel's security clearance gave them access to most of the facility, and her newfound emotional intelligence made her surprisingly good at deception. They found Kael in a surgical preparation chamber, connected to machines that were already beginning to map his brain for the corrective procedure. When he saw Maya, his vital signs immediately strengthened. I thought I had lost you, he said, reaching for her hand. Never, Maya replied, squeezing his fingers. We're getting out of here. But as they disconnected Kael from the surgical equipment, alarms began to sound throughout the facility. Within minutes, they were surrounded by security personnel and senior scientists. Veltaran entered the chamber with an expression of cold fury. Niratel, you have been contaminated as well, he said. This confirms our worst fears. The human emotional virus is spreading. It is not a virus, Niratel said firmly. It is evolution. You are no longer capable of rational thought, Veltaran replied. You will all be subjected to immediate corrective surgery. Wait, Maya said, stepping forward.
Give me 5 minutes to prove that emotions enhance rather than diminish Zephyrian capabilities. Impossible, the facility director said.
Emotions are incompatible with logical perfection. Then let me prove you wrong, Maya challenged.
Give Kael and Niratel a problem that your best logical minds cannot solve.
If they fail, you can proceed with the surgery. If they succeed, you have to consider that your understanding of emotions might be incomplete. The Zephyrians conferred in their musical language for several minutes. Finally, Veltaran spoke. Very well. You will have one opportunity. Failure will result in immediate corrective surgery. For all 3 subjects, they were taken to a massive computational chamber where the planet's most complex unsolved problems were displayed on crystalline screens. The facility director selected one that had puzzled Zephyrian scientists for decades. The dimensional fold equations, he announced. Our greatest mathematical minds have worked on this for 50 years without success. It requires computational power beyond even our most advanced systems. Maya looked at the equations and felt her heart sink. They were incredibly complex, involving mathematics she barely understood. But when she looked at Kael and Niratel, she saw something that gave her hope. They were not approaching the problem with pure logic. They were feeling their way through it, using intuition and creativity along with mathematical precision. Maya, Kael said softly, stay close to me. I need your emotional resonance to access the deeper pathways. Maya moved to stand beside him, placing her hand on his shoulder. Immediately, she could sense his enhanced brain activity. His emotions were not interfering with his logic. They were amplifying it, allowing him to see patterns and connections that pure computation could not detect. Niratel joined them, her own awakening emotions adding to the collective intelligence. Together, the 3 of them began to work through the equations with a combination of logical analysis and emotional intuition that no Zephyrian had used for thousands of years. The answer came to them not as a calculated result, but as a moment of shared insight, a flash of understanding that transcended pure mathematics and touched something deeper. There, Kael said, his voice filled with wonder and triumph. The solution is not mathematical. It is harmonic. The dimensions fold along emotional resonance patterns. The facility director checked their work with growing amazement. This is correct, he said quietly. But the methodology is impossible. Emotions cannot enhance computational ability. Yet we have just proven that they can, Niratel said. When logic and emotion work together, they create capabilities that neither can achieve alone. The room fell silent except for the soft humming of the computational systems. Maya could see the confusion and conflict in the Zephyrian faces around them. Everything they believed about emotions, about perfection, about their own evolution, was being challenged. Finally, Veltaran spoke. Even if this is true, he said slowly, we cannot risk the chaos that emotions would bring to our society. Then don't, Maya said. Learn to integrate emotions gradually. Study what happened to Kale and Niratel. Develop training programs that teach emotional intelligence alongside logical thinking. You don't have to choose between emotion and logic. You can have both. And what of Kalemore's dependency on your presence? The facility director asked. Maya looked at Kale, seeing the love and hope in his silver eyes. I think, she said carefully, that dependency might be mutual. I think we've bonded in a way that transcends species, and I think that kind of connection might be the key to everything. She turned to address the assembled Zephyrians. You came to Earth to study our biology, but you missed the most important thing about humanity. We survive and thrive not because we're the strongest or smartest species, but because we can form connections. We can love, sacrifice, and work together in ways that amplify our individual abilities. What Kale and I have, she continued, isn't a weakness or a dependency. It's a partnership, a connection that makes both of us more than we could be alone. And if your species could learn to form these kinds of bonds, you wouldn't just be logically perfect. You'd be capable of wonders you can't even imagine. The debate that followed lasted hours. Some Zephyrians argued for immediate surgery to remove the emotional contamination. Others, influenced by the successful solution to the dimensional equations, began to consider Maya's proposal. In the end, it was Niratel who provided the deciding argument. We have spent thousands of years believing that we achieved perfection, she said to her fellow scientists. But perfection that cannot grow, cannot adapt, cannot create something genuinely new, is not perfection. It is stagnation. She gestured to Maya and Kyle, who stood hand in hand in the center of the chamber. Look at what they have accomplished together. Look at the capabilities that emerged when emotion and logic combined. This is not contamination. This is the next step in our evolution. The final decision came from the highest levels of Zephyrian government. After days of deliberation, they agreed to establish a joint research program with Earth. A small group of volunteer Zephyrians would work with human scientists to explore the integration of emotional and logical intelligence. Kale was given a choice. He could undergo a modified procedure that would allow him to function independently of Maya, while retaining his emotional capabilities, or he could remain bonded to her and serve as the primary research subject for the integration program. There is no choice, Kyle said simply. Maya awakened something in me that I never want to lose. If remaining bonded to her is the price of keeping these feelings, then I pay it gladly. Maya felt tears spring to her eyes. And I choose to stay with you, she said, because what we have is worth more than anything I could find back on Earth. The journey back to Earth was different from the voyage out. Niratel and 2 other volunteer Zephyrians accompanied them, eager to learn about human emotional intelligence. The ship that had seemed cold and sterile on the outward journey now hummed with curiosity and excitement. Kale spent the voyage learning to control and channel his emotions more effectively. With Maya's help, he discovered that feelings could be guided and shaped without being suppressed. His newfound emotional intelligence enhanced his logical abilities rather than replacing them. I understand now why humans value love so highly, he told Maya as they stood together on the ship's observation deck, watching Earth grow larger in the view screen. It is not just an emotion. It is a force that transforms everything it touches. Maya leaned against his side, marveling at how natural it felt to be close to him despite their different biologies. It transformed you, she said softly. It transformed us both, Kale corrected. You are not the same person who kissed me in that laboratory. You have become someone who can love across species, across evolution itself. When they arrived at Earth, they were greeted as heroes and pioneers. The news of their successful integration sparked worldwide interest in the possibilities of interspecies emotional bonding. Maya and Kale became the first official ambassadors for the new Earth-Zephyrian Emotional Intelligence Exchange Program. Their love story became a symbol of what was possible when different species chose connection over separation, understanding over fear. But for Maya and Kale themselves, the grand implications mattered less than the simple reality they had discovered. Love was not just a human emotion or a Zephyrian neural pathway. It was a force that could transcend any boundary, overcome any difference, and transform any life it touched. In the end, it had taken just one kiss to change the course of galactic civilization. But it was the choice to keep loving, to keep growing together, that made the real difference. As they worked together in their new laboratory on Earth, surrounded by human and Zephyrian scientists eager to learn from their example, Maya and Kale proved every day that the most powerful force in the universe was not logic or emotion alone. It was the connection between two beings who chose to love each other across every difference, every challenge, and every boundary that sought to keep them apart.